So as we left off last time, the team had just finished their travels, making their way through the dangerous woods, leading them to a new town. A small logging town located on the west edge of the wood. With spiders behind you, and very few things ahead now, the team was standing near the gates. Your caravan riding in with all the people, very happy that they've survived, and very happy to be out of those less than hospitable woods. The town itself, and if you're looking on the big map here, you'd be entering in from the east side to make life a little simple. First thing that's going to stand out from a distance is the hill in the middle of this town that rises a few extra steps up. This hill, which leads to a large citadel-like building, still has some activity, a number of people walking around and walking through. But as you all are making your way through this area, one thing would stand out. So if everybody wants to go ahead, before you're making it through the gate while you're peering at this place from a distance, and give me a perception check as you peer at this quiet logging town from a distance.
Oh, just while we're all getting our dice rolls in, I wanted to share an update on the dice curse.
Oh?
So I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3 like most of the internet.
Oh yeah. This town, as you're finding yourselves arriving with those lovely perception checks you've all done, because I'll be honest, I tapped pause when we started talking Baldur's Gate. Save us some time on the recording. You will notice with all of those stats, except Ulag with a 13, who's probably looking around like, wow, this place is pretty. You would see the one thing that would stand out are the ears. And the fact that most of them are shorter than the majority of the party members based off the average height of your standard adult elf is considerably shorter than that of your standard adventurer in the party at the moment. 5'10" is tall in that culture.
Damn it, they got 10 inches on me.
Oh goodness.
Are we in a town full of elves?
Indeed. This would appear to be an elven village perched on the edge of the wood. And though mostly casual and relaxed, as you approach from the edge of the wood, you would notice there's guards standing out front. A pair of them with long pikes in either hand. And they draw them across, blocking more or less the route up ahead as your caravan would be approaching.
Does anyone here speak Elvish? Maybe saying hello in their own language might smooth things along.
Everyone's staring at the half-elf as they say this. Well, one of the half-elves.
Yep.
Yeah. I'll say hello in Elven.
I'm a dumb half-elf. I have an int of 10, so I only have the common language. you don't get languages for free in Pathfinder.
Yeah, I think I might be the same. I don't know if I have another language.
Do you not get some for having higher int?
I think I only have a 12 intelligence. I don't think it's that high. Well, I am looking though. I'm looking. I just don't know where to look necessarily.
The front chair. Yeah, the front character sheet that says human half-elf, middle, and stuff. Down above strength, it says language is common.
Yep.
Yeah.
And with a +2 on your intelligence. Let me double check actually on that.
That might be a first edition thing I'm thinking of, is that you learn languages with increased intelligence. So that might be my my mumbled up knowledge that's thrown me there.
Let me check the archives of Nephis here.
Yeah, because like I have a 10 intelligence, but I speak Orcish and Common.
You're full orc, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if we were full elves, we would have Elvish. Maybe because we're only half-seas.
Yep. Because your ancestry generally states which languages you know at first level. And if you have a positive intelligence modifier, it grants a number of additional languages equal to your intelligence modifier, and you can choose them from the list presented in your ancestry entry, and from those available for your region or ethnicity. So for the most part, you've got the common languages, like Common, Draconic, Dwarven, Elven, Gnomish, Goblin, Halfling, Jotun, Orcish, Sylvan, and Undercommon, of course. So, you know, if you've got some positive intelligence modifier like Nestri, if you want to add on 2 languages, because at this point I'm sort of thinking on the meta. You've got Dean in Devaxian looking towards Jillian and Nestri saying, "Can you speak Elven?" And Jillian, as Nestri, would look over and say in perfectly fluent Elven, "I have no idea how to speak the Elven." Oh, wait, hang on. I'm leaning right on the meta.
Well,
I
picked Dwarvish and Elven because my mom's a dwarf and my dad's an elf, so I'm going for that. Even though it says I'm half human, I'm not really. It's just.
And I also wonder how this will play into it. So I took, for my first level ancestry feat, I took round ears. So
Yep.
I look barely different from humans. I'm just, I guess I'm worryingly thin for a tall person. So maybe that's the elf part of me.
Right,
Yeah, just noticed my size does not make sense for my race. It's great.
What's your size?
It is only 5'9", which makes no sense.
Yep.
Oh, so the vaccine's taller than you.
Yeah.
This be for Jillian. I wanted a kind of Harry Dresden build for my former cultist.
Could have just talked in an American accent then.
Well, you've got 2 characters who can speak Elvish, and both of you are more than willing to walk up and approach these guards. Who wants to lead the conversation on this one? We want to jump it on Dan, or we want to jump it on Jillian?
What's your charisma, Dan?
+2 modifier?
I feel like that's better than mine. I'm just about to look at myself.
Now, did they give up stats and just go straight to mods with the remaster?
Yep.
I
Yep.
thought
You
so.
don't have. Yeah. I think the attribute scores were too closely tied to the open gaming license in Wizards.
I have to wonder how the open gaming license actually would affect Pathfinder, where it's its own company. It was like the stuff was put up beforehand.
They've been pretty
So,
clear that the open gaming license wouldn't probably cause them any problems, but what they're doing is proactive. It looks like the taste in their mouth of Wizards has been soured, so they're moving away from it as much as they can to both protect themselves in future and because, well, back in January, Wizards almost took it all away.
Yeah, it's yeah, they just weren't completely removed, and they've made a new open gaming license called Orc.
Yep, brilliant.
That's why orcs are becoming a base class in the base ancestry in the remaster.
I like orcs and I like half orcs. You can probably tell because you got one on the team, sort of. Not John's character, the NPC. Though John's character, yes, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. So the first the pre-remaster ones have the OGL at the back, in the book, but it should be orc from now on. And I think so. Some monsters I think are going to go. I think like they have to drop drow as well from the Pathfinder setting.
Oh yeah,
Stuff like that.
there's going to be a few change-ups, and it's going to be a bit sad. people's... The one thing I don't like about all of this is it's a division in our community of role players, when it's always been a community of people who were together and working together to make something better, and now we have a division, and it's drawn straight down the middle. Players still play either way, mind you, but I think it's only going to get worse, but it shouldn't be too negatively impacting for us. It's just sad to see it happen. I'm that dude standing there saying, can't we all just get along? And then Wizards of the Coast says, money. Oh, goodness.
They could only have damaged their own brand, though.
Yeah.
Like, I mean...
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Fingers crossed. I still like my D&D. I really do. It's fun. They can save it yet, but I don't know. So, Dan, you are up as your character is making their way forward to talk towards the two guards posted there. And you'll notice, as you're hopping up, as you immediately volunteer, it's like, I got this. And Nestri goes, I also speak some Elvish as well. As you're walking forward, at the very front, you can see the merchant leading your caravan. He's standing there with his hands on his hip, grumbling and arguing with the guards. And as you're approaching, you'd overhear some of the argument, the usual sort of things you'd expect. We're just passing through. We just need a place to stay for a couple nights. Surely you want to make some money. And the guards are saying, you're all a major risk. You humans who've come here to our lands, once again, you're going to cause troubles, aren't you? And it's a lot of this back and forth. You immediately can tell these elves are exceedingly hostile towards all of you.
Are they all speaking in Elvish, or are they speaking in Common as well?
Presently in Common.
I'll kind of signal to Vaxian, because I know he can talk. Just kind of wave him over.
Hello?
They're speaking Common. Maybe you could help as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll help where I can. I just, they might... I just thought it might help if we show that we know a little bit, but... Let's go see.
Yeah, just like back us up.
Yep, you got it.
Okay.
Meanwhile, you got Phoenix just marching up on them like Leonardo DiCaprio going into the door.
I'm actually thinking, because they're making comments about, you humans are going to cause problems. Do I continue the human disguise, or do I switch back to Kitsune form?
You probably wouldn't hurt.
Because then I'd be less of a human to cause problems. But then
Also,
I'd be using the magic and then questions answered there.
Well, here's what I was going to say
did they
about that.
see you?
I was just going to say it might be, maybe we can use the fact that we have magic as a negotiation piece. Because we're like the only people who do.
Keeping in mind, you might be the only people in the world who do.
That's what I mean. So maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to change in front of them and demonstrate some magic. Or it could go completely terribly and freak them out.
I was about to say, that could really backfire. I could be wrong, but they seem xenophobic. They don't want to trust outsiders. So coming in and going, yeah, we're not just any outsiders. We're magical outsiders. Might scare them even more.
The thing is,
I love the way you say that.
The thing is, some people have described my smile as magical. So, what do I do then?
Not the quite same magical.
Yep. I mean, I'm just trying to cut the tension here.
Well, then,
I don't want to get stabbed.
I don't think they're gonna stab us. I just have a feeling.
Didn't think that a tree would stab me, but that also happened.
Alright, well, I mean, if you want to change, Phoenix, then maybe we could just play it extra safe, and you could do it kind of behind a bush or something like that, and then we could go.
I don't know why, but that sounds hilarious to me.
Character just walks off for a second, crouches down. You see a giant rainbow flash from behind a bush. Out comes Kitsune. All the people in town looking over, like, what's going on? And he goes, it was Taco Tuesday, man. Oh, my stomach.
Most of the time, when a character goes behind a bush to change, it's the, may come out with a different pair of trousers on.
Yup. Everyone be looking at you funny. You'd just be like, this is what I've always looked like. And the town guards are like, I'm confused.
Guys, don't look at me. I'm changing.
Oh, goodness.
It's a 50-50 shot either way.
So they stab us or they don't.
I say go for your gut. What does your gut say? What does the vaccine looks around? The fox say?
I spotted about to get the power Uber Eats.
At this point in the story, Phoenix attempts to stab the vaccine.
Khalees. Sorry, I've seen too many of those commercials lately. I can't even speak fox speak, so you know. So, whether or not to approach in your natural form or your hidden form, or how you're going to approach on this conversation, it looks like a few of these decisions are sitting on your shoulders today, Dan.
Yeah, as soon as I stop laughing and crying, I get to them.
You're like walking halfway and the poor Dan, his character is just dying with laughter, rolling on the ground. Everyone's looking at him funny like, what the hell? It's like, you're lucky there's a fourth wall break, otherwise this would count. Well, you let us know how you're going to approach. Because it looks like your character has first approach as you're walking up. Dean's character would have been chatting. And the team would have been doing some planning. But I mean, you were right on it. You were the OG Elvish language speaker, even though we got two half-elves. Though, now, Jillian also has it. Always did, too. That's what we call a proper retcon right there.
Sorry.
Oh, it's a good one. I love it.
It's my first time playing Pathfinder.
It reminds
me...
How
dare you not know everything?
8-Bit Theater
did wrong with you?
They did their Dungeons & Dragons game at a table, and they're talking about all this stuff, and at one point the guy's like, no, my sheet says I have white eyes, but I have blue eyes, and you focus in on the token, which blinks its eyes as, like, a blue light pops out of its head like a contact lens falling out, and it looks right at the fourth wall, like, the what? Oh, I love it. But, alrighty, Dan. Whenever you're ready, bud, it's up to you how you're running this one. And don't get me wrong, you have the support of your friends and ally. We don't got a druid on the team to drop guidance. It isn't that game, but you know what I mean.
I'll go with Kitsune phone.
All right. So Phoenix takes a moment, ducks behind a bush or behind somewhere, or just stays inside one of the carriages at that point, switches back to his Kitsune form. As you do switch back to your Kitsune form and you look down at one point, you notice there was someone you didn't see. There's this one little kid, this little boy who's just looking up at you. The mouth drops to the floor. A piece of bread he was chewing on just rattles, and he's staring with these big, super gigantic, wide eyes. Awe-inspired. Jameson might remember this same child.
I knew it.
Yep. This poor kid.
What?
No one's going to believe a word that comes out of their mouth about these things, though, if they do tell anyone.
Well, they might, because I walk up and say hello in Elvish.
Oh, well, that's the thing. They'll believe the Kitsune part, but the other things, it's mostly because this kid is the kid. He's the one. He gets to follow around, and he just looks impressed. He's watching, head sticking out the window as you're walking, jaw still slack, looking shocked. And as you walk up and you say hello in Elvish towards the two guards, one of them gets a bit of a glare on their face as they look back towards you, and then they shake their head and say, no, in comment on that one. You will speak to us in your own tongue. I doubt very many of you will know the proper words in our language, and I'd rather not confuse your friends and allies. As he looks towards the old merchant with his rotund form, as he says then in Elvish, like this man here, I'm willing to bet he's eaten a lot more pies than books. Probably has no clue what I'm saying. And the old guy speaks up. Okay. As he leans in a little bit towards Phoenix at that moment and says, hey, did he just offer me a cobbler? I could actually use a little snack. I heard a term, that we use for talking about food on the pastry menu back home.
Well, sorry guys, I called it wrong. They're mean elves.
And Esther gets flashbacks because of my backstory. Her dad, was different, and that's why he left the society. I don't know where. So, Alan.
Oh yeah.
I don't know where my dad is from because I didn't know the world that we would be playing in. But
yeah.
What Nestri might angle at if she started a conversation with them, and she might say, I am part of your people, and she would explain where her dad came from. And
because Nestri's half-elf, so her ears, would they be just as pointed as your standard elf, or would they be a little bit more slender, or a little bit more round,
They'd be a bit rounded, but they would have a point to it.
As you walk up and you say that towards the guard, as you say, my great father, from the wonderful, wonderful lands that they came from, a great place. I will always, always remember the great kingdom of that my father came from, where he worked as legendary to the king of and the queen of, but
He wasn't that big, but anyway.
Oh, he could have just been a cobbler working for the king and queen. Or...
Hey, I had him as a watchmaker.
He could have... Oh, watchmaker even, but you would have been popular. Clockwork isn't the easiest thing to work with. I'm going to run with that, actually. We'll make use of that. Because the other job that you can get that's a very prestigious and very important job back in the day, which I'm definitely not giving to any characters, but if you want to have someone in your family had this job, you can, but I don't think anybody actually wants to be a royal butt wiper. That was a job.
Yep.
Your job was to ensure that the ruling party, the queen or the king, actually I'm not sure, I know the king, I'm not sure if it would have been for the queen, but I'm assuming your job was to make sure they remain unsullied. Probably.
I mean, talk
it's a
about
shitty job.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about having the king's ear. That's ridiculous.
Yep.
They work right beside the royal butt kisser.
Yeah. Oh.
they always hoped you weren't late to your job.
Oh God. Oh God. Yeah. No, a very prestigious and very sought after role, apparently. Go figure. I couldn't imagine. Were you just sitting there with a newspaper all day waiting? Oh, goodness. Well, as Nestri says these things, especially when you first initially mention, I am part of your people, you see one of them draw their eyes a little more fine as they look at your ear. The other doesn't seem to catch it so much. Though they give a nod at that and say, yeah, don't know if you're the worst part of our race, though we're the better half. Suppose there's only one way to find out. Clockmaker, you say, for the watchmaker and working with pieces of clockwork. Did he teach you any of those skills?
Bit, yeah. I'm not as good as him, but I have some skills.
As the two seem to discuss a little bit back and forth, and they say, all right. Yeah, all right, you can enter by all means. We could actually use some assistance. If you have a chance, you take yourself up and take a visit to our mayor.
I can do... You know, my whole caravan has a variety of different skills that we could contribute. Not just me. I'll vouch for them. So if you have any trouble, I will personally take responsibility for any trouble that my party causes in your great society. But please, we're wary and require rest. We will try not to be a burden.
And they're going to draw their brows somewhat angrily as they look across your group and that. And you can see that look of frustration. That look of someone who almost looks like they hate their job and they don't want to deal with what they're dealing with. However, it's not the job they hate, but the views they presently have. And they'd give a slow shake of her head on that one as they look back towards you and say, no, most certainly, absolutely not. We're not going to let a large group of humans step onto our home and cause us more trouble. We've had enough raiding parties, we've had enough groups that I'm not going to risk it over the safety. However, and they're just going to look at you and squint their eyes a bit. Maybe I'll let you take a person or two with you if you want to bring along a little bit of extra support. And I'm going to lean back a bit for a moment and say, sure, they're discussing this with you. And sure, because of your character's backstory, you seem to have obtained the rates to have some extra people coming along. But maybe a silver tongue might be able to convince you to convince them to let a few more enter in.
Silver tongue, I am not.
I'm also part Elven, if that helps us get a little more people in through the door.
The other guy to the side, my ass, the first one smacks them, says, hey, just because you can't see it on the surface doesn't mean they're not elvish. Have some respect for our people. They look back towards you and you say, surely though, if you're an elf, you'll be able to say something in a nice, calm demeanor in our tongue, which that last sentence, however, comes out entirely in Elvish.
Oh no! I can Nestry like whisper.
I don't really know what you're saying right now, because, and surely you, being a full elf yourself, understand the potency of our elven heritage. It's probably why the cult that I was forcibly raised in took pride in having so many half-elves in the cult. I really want to learn about my heritage, and where better than a town of proud elves cutting out a living in this wild frontier. I need your help.
Sounds
and
like
I need to bring...
you're attempting to make an impression on this NPC just for yourself. Now, will they view you and say, you spent how much time outside of our people with humans? Oh, that's not trustworthy. And will their xenophobic nature maintain the hold? Or will they take plight in what you're saying? Will they look at their brethren, literally, and say, okay, let's find out, because you have to attempt to make an impression here, which means a diplomacy check. I get such a kick out of it that it's actually called make an impression. Oh, sorry, Dan.
Oh, I was just going to make the joke. I guess we found the royal butt kisser.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, come on. Come on, this isn't D&D. I'm just going to tap F5 to quick save, in case I need to do a quick load.
Save, scummy.
You got a 4 pop up. The bottom one says punch enemy in face.
You
do have a hero point.
No, hang on. Yep. Technically better.
A 17.
But not much.
As your character starts talking initially, as you're going on, it's like, well, we can do that. I was with cultists, they weren't good. And you see the look getting worse and worse on their face. And you're like, but I just want to come home and see my people or something. That last second, you seem to just twist their views. And they look at you with a bit different, a bit of a look of pity as they give a nod. And they say, okay, you know what, sure. You can certainly come in.
Look of pity.
Yep. They shake their head. Cultists, having thieved you away from your home, never knowing the regale of the elvish people. By all means, friend, you can walk in on this town. Hey, he went the cultist route. They're going to feel pity or they're going to feel anger. That's one or the other.
You would be surprised how often pity works for me.
Yeah.
I think it's because I look unfed a lot of the time.
Oh goodness. Very thin character.
What did I type 23 minutes ago? I'm very confused.
Oh, I put that through on the chat. When I said earlier,
Okay.
Your character says in Elvish, I have no idea how to speak Elvish. That's pretty much what that means.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I was like, I didn't see it pop up when I heard you say that, but I didn't see it pop up, so I was really confused. I'm like, did I type that? Did I boob type something by accident?
Oh gosh. Oh goodness. No, you're safe, thankfully.
Okay, that's good.
Well, with Nestry's Pass and with Devaxian added in as well, the group of 5 of you isn't going to have trouble to make it into this town, but they're presently requesting that the rest of your caravan stays outside of town as they point towards an old larger meadow and field, mentioning that they'd have no trouble parking their wagons there and camping out. Though, as this is happening, very firm hands are going to move some people out of the way, as your half-orc friend would walk near to the front of the line and shoot them a glare.
You know, you should really be considering at least letting a delegation of our people through. We need supplies, we need materials. We can provide coin for...
And the elf just waves a hand at him, shakes their head and saying, we need very little from outsiders. The only thing we need, usually, is for them to go away. We have the water, we have the land, and we have the forest. All of our natural abilities, all of our natural resources are here. We don't need you. And, of course, that half-orc, young as he is going to look at the party with a slightly pathetic glance of, come on, one of you can roll good and help me get in, right?
I literally have 0 charisma. I have society trade. It's a it's +2. That's all I got.
Good for recalling knowledge and stuff like that.
Maybe there's something we could do to convince you to let us in that we mean no harm to your town. We really do just want to rest up for a day or two, then move on. Our journey is much further to the west, through the wastelands.
They both get a shocked look on their face at the mention of the wasteland, and then they laugh a little bit at each other, shaking their heads. No, look, buddy. If you're all planning on just offing yourselves out in the wasteland, that's your own business, but not something we're too worried about.
Well, let's say that you let us in. We buy a bunch of things, and then we're going off to the west, and you're pretty sure that we're going to die. So, you give it a few days, only you have our coin, you follow after us, and then you get all your goods back. So, no harm, no foul, really.
Well, the one guard, the one who was a bit more rude, immediately starts snorting a laugh. The other one smacks them on the arm again, says, some decorum. We have a mission here. Pay attention. It's bad enough you insult one with our blood. You should be kind, even if it's hard. As they look back towards you and say, now, honestly, I have no trouble with you coming into my town and buying some things. Certainly, by all means, you need supplies. You've got arms, you can certainly carry them. But not them, as he looks back towards the remaining caravan and the half-orc. As you may need to ace another diplomacy check if you're going to try and get these people into the town. Or at least representatives of them.
At this point, I kind of step up. Clearly, like in like my religious robes and such, not religious robe, but like with my religious symbol. Come now, we're all equals on this plane. We're not here. We're just looking for a couple extras so that way they can help us get it. Can't be too bad to let one extra person. I'm going to make the
Yep, by all means.
diplomacy check.
You can make that roll for a check on diplomacy. And as you walk up, and with all religious garb on display and all that, one's gonna look straight towards your character. Even the one who's been somewhat more polite will look you over once as you're giving your spiel, and you'll hear a scoff from them as they look towards the other and say, "Oh great, we have a believer." And they shake their head and say, "No, you make a good point then. Bring the half-orc with you and just keep a close eye on him. Don't double-cross us. We do not appreciate it. And this is not a land favored by whatever gods you believe in." As it would appear, the sight of religious view seems to have scorned not one, but either of them. Meanwhile, our paladin's like, "What the hell? Normally paladins are treated nice. These people don't like religion?" No.
Well, that's because religion failed them.
The gods have long since abandoned the lands, and as you will quickly come to learn, this town entirely abandoned the gods. They have zero belief left. Now, I should also point out this isn't some wider comment about atheism or belief in God or faith or characters challenging themselves or anything like that. It's literally, this town went through cataclysm. The gods gave up on the world 100 years ago. No one's come to help them or answered prayers or given magic. So some places like this, belief has absolutely disappeared. But Ula got a 25.
So we're playing Dragonlance.
Well, people still believe in the gods in Dragonlance. They just make fun of you for it. Though, no, let's please not play Dragonlance.
Depends. What area you go to. Just like what you're saying right now.
Because I gotta be honest, in Dragonlance, Shadow of the Dragon Queen is probably one of the worst adventures I've read through now in 5th edition. Sure, it's pretty and it's got a lot of features, but their plot hooks, their ideas, their styles, and their things are absolute total bullshit. Like, they just don't make sense from a plot hook point. Oh yeah, a group of undead soldiers are going to march through the whole town to the main capital, cause severe damage, and no one's going to say, "Oh, those are bad guys," at one point when the checks are so low to tell. Are you kidding me? Among things. I have some major problems with how they decided to write that. It feels very weak now that I'm finishing it. Did not enjoy, will not replay.
That makes me sad.
So many things in that are just very poorly written. Didn't develop characters enough, didn't do things correctly, and then gave too much in the wrong directions. But at this point, the team, plus one half-orc, does have permission to enter the town and explore. See what's going on, maybe buy some stuff. And it's your typical town, mind you. There's a place of worship up on top of the hill, where apparently the mayor sometimes can often be found. You were pointed that way for Nestri with her abilities with clockwork. There's also taverns, doubles as an inn, random houses, places to shop, all that good stuff. But one thing the team's going to notice as you're walking in is that you feel like a foreigner in a drastically different country for sure. A lot of people glance towards you as you walk by. Even Nestri, with her ears looking a fair bit more elven, you would find people giving you that glance of, who are these people and why are they here? Trust, it would seem, has far since eroded away from this village of elves.
I would ask the guards just before we left, do you have any healers in the town?
They have some basic medics. They do make their home in the temple on the very top area, as it has been converted to a civic uses building. They no longer pray there.
You still have Ghoul Fever, Dean, or did you beat that?
No, got it. That's why I'm asking about the healers.
Okay, cool. Couldn't remember.
Your half-orc traveling with you sort of mutters, "Yeah, we're running low. We need to get some way to fix that before you die."
Yep. If only we had a doctor. But I guess if you have a nice practice in the the town that we left, you wouldn't want to leave it on a death march to the west. I feel awful.
Same.
Yeah, I think I might head straight there if anyone wants to join me.
I'll go with you.
I'm going there because for the same reasons.
Yeah, I was gonna say you also have it too, don't you?
Yeah.
I once heard that if you said I have a fever, someone else would say the only cure is more cowbell. But I have hit a cowbell for hours on that caravan, and it has not helped at all.
Well, they would point you towards that area, though they'd point out to you, if it's a bad disease, if you're suffering from something a little bit severe that's got your life at risk, not sure what much help they'll be able to do, but they might be able to at least make you comfortable if you're gonna pass. Because
Great.
after all, a world without magic makes healing a nightmare. For everybody except this team, you've all got magic on your side still.
And I will apologize to the team now. I looked everywhere I could. There's no magic item that I could make that would remove disease. I tried.
Oh, no worries, man. Cool. Well, a little bit of worry, but he's. I'm worried, but it's okay.
It's fine. Everything is fine.
Nobody panic. I think we discovered there's like a treat disease action or something that we can boost our saves if we've got time before we make the check.
A successful heal check at the DC matching up essentially will give you a +4 bonus on your fort save. And I do believe it's around noon when the team generally gets tagged by that, because I think it was the middle of the day, but my memory's a little foggy. Speaking of time, I gotta get the clock working. There we go.
I think it was noon last time we made it, noonish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems the clock isn't ticking anymore. I'll have to take a look into that. It's just locked up on the same time, so that's a little sad. That's one of my favorite add-ons. I love my clock. No better way to tell the time than having a clock that goes tick all the time. But no worries.
So it ticked off you?
No, it's not ticking at all, John.
As I said, ticked off you.
But would have to tick in order to tick off. It's like flicking a light switch on and off. If it can't flick, it can't turn. The absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Oh, goodness. So, there is that lovely place. If anyone had plans to go to any other places here, and you might also be thinking, shops, etc., you know my usual rule. Unless it's something crazy that you need DM permission for, you have free reins to just buy some stuff. Anything that's standard equipment is always available. And I say that because we're here to kick butt, not do accounting work. You know. That stuff's good for downtime. Now, if you were you're trying to buy Legendary Blade Excalibur, which is no longer magical, well, we might be in for a conversation. But that's, that's a MacGuffin at that point. Unless anyone has anywhere else they're looking to go, I can always slap the team straight up into the nice Temple of the Dawn Flower. Your half-orc friend traveling with you, however, they're going to be quick to note.
Okay, I haven't eaten meat in 3 days. I'm gonna go buy some provisions. You're all more than welcome to assist and accompany me on such a recluse if you so choose. But I'm gonna be a little while. I got a big list.
I'll join up with you when I can.
Yep. Yep, I'll find you after.
And he gives a nod, one of those thank you very much moments, as you see he pulls out a scroll that he's got the list on, and it's pretty much just drops to the ground like this, and you can hear him groaning like,
Oh, I hope I have enough money for this. This is... Who the heck put socks on here? It's not Christmas.
workish subculture. You might be thinking, what would they get for, and I'm using air quotes, for Christmas? Insert whatever holiday you want. Socks. They normally get all the cool things throughout the rest of the year. Their holidays are a time to get clothing. Meanwhile, someone else is yelling, socks are not a Christmas gift. And yes, they are if they're comfy and warm. You appreciate these things as you get older. You appreciate them. Now.
Right?
And Sandy's saying behind me, stocking stuffer. Definitely. I love it. Every year I can't wait for Christmas. I get to respawn my pile of socks.
Right? As a kid, oh, I got clothing. As an adult, I got clothing.
Oh, yeah. 100%. You pull that cool shirt out and you're looking at it and you're just like, this is awesome. But then socks and you're like, this is also awesome. Heck, I get a tie and I'm like, this is the best. Oh, yeah, give me a second here.
It ties it all together for you?
Hey.
I want to say I tie the tie. And we'll jump in on this, get
But
this
that's
started. in
not
about,
funny.
I have a lot of tie puns. You want to see me start using the word Windsor and use that? I'll have some fun.
Yes.
I don't know, though. I will say, as I'm loading you all over, to the Temple of the Dawn Flower, and you'll find your tokens on there, of course, you would find the area coming up.
Oh, so based off the way my character sheet was out, it was blocking the stairs. So I thought this was the temple for a half a second.
My goodness. Well, they certainly
like,
gave up at that point, if that's the case.
Yeah, right?
My kiddo went full tea kettle for a second there. I had to mute.
That's what the sound was.
Yeah, we caught just the start of it.
Yep. Squeak, squeak.
Was
pause.
Was it a good kettle or a bad kettle? Was that a happy kettle?
A little bit of a mix. She's just trying to get extra attention. You know how it is, but she's not in too bad of a mood. We'll be grabbing a break in about 10-15 minutes, and I'll give her a cuddle poo and the good stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and swap you all over to the new map, because it should be active for all of you, and you should have full range to move your characters around wherever you'd like. Now, this was once a grand temple to the gods, most assuredly, but now appears to be a little bit more busy, a place of commerce, where you can see people coming and going with goods and notations. The overall construction has remained mostly the same due to the heavy stonework, but as you approach and walk it towards this building, the main doors levied and left open, just an archway, you would see it still contains the same statues at the very end behind what appears to be an altar that has been mostly converted, books, other forms of various accounting ledgers laid out, and numerous business people walking around muttering with each other about general day-to-day dealings. You'd overhear things talking about how it's getting a bit trickier to acquire apples at this time of year. They're not seeming to be in style, so they're going to have to increase cost. But the cost of the peach berry is definitely going down, which should help counterbalance. And fishing is also a big one that comes on, along with logging. But it seems a very busy place of commerce as you find yourselves approaching. No guards posted in these areas, a few of them always walking the streets, but for the most part, a quiet, peaceful area. And you can feel free to move your tokens all around the map. It's a pretty map.
Well, this is bustling. Remember the last time we saw an altar? The lich came out of it. What's the chances here?
Probably not super high.
Here's hoping.
As you approach up that altar, they look towards you, skeletal form, like, oh, hey, how you doing?
Oh my god, it's happening again?
No. Now, you do see at that altar, seated at a chair nearby it, with stacks upon stacks of book, and bringing a hand up to run their hand through and scrub the top of a bald head, as an older-looking elf sits comfortably. And when I say older-looking, I mean about 215 years old. Not a spot of hair on their head, with brown eyes, and the skin with a slightly bluish twinge to it, just ever so slightly. Probably thinking to yourself, they could use a little more sunlight. Overall, a bit more rotund, with a square, slightly fanciful face, with a large raven black quill in one hand as they continue to sketch. I point out to them because they appear to be a form of authority. Everyone, once in the blue, seems to be walking up and talking and chattering with them, and it's a bit of a crowd of people around them.
Excuse me. Hello. I hope I'm not interrupting.
They don't even look up from the parchment as they're making notes. They give a bit of a ruffle. The only thing... Oh, sorry, are you about to say something there, Julian?
No, you can finish your description. I'm sorry.
I was going to say they ruffle a large mustache, which might be a bit of a surprise to see on an elf, as they don't even look up towards you and give a mutter. All right, what do you want? What you looking for? What needs done?
We were looking for the healers, or your medical professionals.
Healers. And you see he stops. The pen... He stops moving as he initially hears your voice, the accent being unique and different, enough to catch them off guard as they look up, and then slowly look towards you, and then the remaining party members traveling with you. Eyes squint a little bit, and then you see a sigh as he slowly sets the quill pen down. Well, we've got some medics. We do help to tend to people, as he points a finger towards the room towards the south. Generally, you'll find a few of them inside of there with the sick and the dying. Depending on what's wrong with you, though, we might not be able to provide a lot of assistance, but I am assuredly more than grateful if you're looking to spend a little coin on those services. Then he peers back towards the group again. His eyes lock on the kitsune for a little bit, seem to squint very heavily, as they mutter under their breath, "Thought they were only rumors," and then they shake their head a bit, mostly because not very many people get to see your species. They are rare to begin with, that ancestry, but they don't seem to have a negative glance. Gruff, however.
My name's Devaxian. Are you the mayor?
They give a nod at that one as they pick their quill up and make a few notes before starting to scroll up the scroll and set it aside, making a point as to where they were leaving off, essentially. Indeed, Devaxian, I am the mayor here, Erlemil Adavil. A pleasure to meet you, I am certain. And you'd see they hold up one hand, which is partially blotted with ink, as they say, "I would offer to shake your hand, but, well, you know, if you grab that hand, your hand will be covered in ink."
Oh, a little bit of ink never bothered me. I had much worse stuff in my hands before.
This goes full Disney. Splat. It's going to be dripping off, and it's going to be a bit messy of ink. Probably homemade, which probably wouldn't come as much of a surprise. I suppose an argument can be said that everything is homemade technically, but you know what I mean by this. Probably put it together themselves. But they'd give you a very firm handshake, to the point that you might have a concern as they begin to squeeze. Oh, they're one of those type who are going to try and break my hand, but no. They hurt a certain degree and stop, slightly more firm than the average, but not enough to be proving anything, just a very proud person in that singular instance, as they give a shake and say, "Well met. The guards have allowed you in, so I am assuming you're not here to cause trouble for us, and I would appreciate it if it would remain that way. I have far too many things on my plate to have to worry about people coming in and trying to attack us from underground. I'm sure you understand.
Yes. Well, we surely mean no harm to your town. Actually, we came with a caravan, and we're really desperately looking for supplies and for a chance to get our people in. So if there's anything we can do to maybe prove ourselves so that more of our fellow travelers can come in and take part in some services, I'm pretty sure, it looks back at the group, we would be happy to try and do that. But me and Nestri here we're half elves. Well, some of us are more elf than others, and he like flicks these round ears.
He'd give a wave of a hand at that and say, "Do you feel elvish in your heart?"
At least half, yes.
Well, then you are one of us. There is very little more to be said on the matter. Do not fret, because you have ears that may not be the most aesthetically pleasing, and you can't really blame an elf for not liking rounded ears. They grew up seeing nothing but pointed. Do not blame yourself for having ears that are not aesthetically pleasing. If you are elvish, you are one of us. Welcome to our home.
Thank you. But Nestri here knows something of clockwork, and the guard said that she should speak to you.
He pauses for a moment and slowly looks towards Nestri, and you see the eyebrows come up, and a smile finally seems to break on half of their face, but just for a moment before it flatlines back out. Really? We could indeed use great assistance from that. We have a clock tower milling house, but unfortunately, it has fallen under disrepair, so we've been forced to do our milling by hand. And let me tell you, and they're going to look towards, at this point specifically, Deacon and Ulog, one than the other, because as you know, your strength scores are pretty up there with the +3 and the +4. It is a rather laborious task to be doing by hand, and that is a considerable waste of our power. We would actually be able to use a degree of assistance if you have experience with gears and machinery. I'm sure now Deacon's thinking, do I?
Well, hopefully you have more than I do, because I just had it, like, in the way that, like, I would know a little bit about the funeral business, because my dad owns a funeral home, that Nestri would know a little bit about clockmaking, because her dad is a clockmaker, he's still alive. She's definitely a bit nervous. She was like, I will do everything in my power to try to fix it. It's been a long time, though, I have to be honest with you.
And they'll give a nod as they point the quill, the back of it, the feather, towards you, and with that one, and say, humility is a wonderful feature to be able to maintain. For that, I will nod towards you, but believe me on this much, friend, it can't get any worse than it is, so any assistance, even if you cannot make it better, is appreciated.
Absolutely, yeah. And will it, I mean, I don't want this to sound too presumptuous, but could we not garner a bit of trust with you with our caravan if we succeed in this? Like, would this speak enough to our character to let you trust a few more of our caravan into your great city?
The unfortunate truth on such matters is that we rarely have the space to permit many visitors in here. We have very little along the way of lodgings. Those places that would provide shelter to others have been ransacked, attacked, or betrayed for the kindness that they have shown to those who have come to visit us in the past. Unfortunately, as much as I might like to see outsiders come into this town, I have no place to place them, though I am certain if you are able to assist us, we may be able to review increasing the number that we've allowed through the gate. As he looks across the 5 of you and squints his eyes. Though depending on how many have already come through, I'm not sure how many more we can permit. A dozen, maybe 2 at the most. But we have been burned a few too many times by those claiming kindness, waiting to find a place on our back to place the dagger. So my people are very, very restrictive on extending out a hand of kindness. But you are right. I am certain if you help us, the people may be more willing to help you.
Fair
Interesting
enough.
thinking.
Oh, there's only one more of us in the town. A half-orc fellow.
The half-orc, you say?
Yes.
Wonderful. That was perfect, as he gives a nod and writes a little bit more.
I always forget his name. And I found it the other day.
I'm going to leave that one float for a minute. I'll pull them all up for next session, but for the rest of this session, I'm going to leave the NPCs blank as a sort of challenge. First player to get their names, you'll get 2 hero points today. John's running to the videos. I say that because usually John's quick on those to get them, but if you look near the end of our first couple videos, you'll see it.
It's Garek.
Oh, yeah. You get
Let me
him,
put it in bracket.
his spouse,
What is a Perkins?
and him, his spouse, and the mare traveling with you. You get all 3 of those names, and I'll give out a hero point. Either 2 hero points to the player who finds it, as just a fun reward of here you go, you actually went and found them. Or alternately, you can take 1 hero point and the rest of your teammates also get a hero point.
So he's Garrick. His wife is Carrick, Luna Dream. And I'm still finding the guy's name.
Nah,
Francis?
I will say we're taking break in a few minutes, so the team will have plenty of option on that one. If you can find it and pop that one in, I'm a man of my word. I will gladly give those hero points out, because they're a fun time. And they reset at the end of a session, sadly. But the 3 of them, as Garrett is traveling with, they just give the nod and say, perfect, wonderful. We'll keep an eye on them. But a little commerce goes a far way. We could use some gold coin, after all. Makes wonderful jewelry when melted down.
I did want to ask, the guards mentioned that you had, well, you'd been raided a couple of times recently. Has it been like regular bandits or war bands, or?
He gives a soft sigh at that one and a light shade of his head. No, the last raiding party that struck us about 2 months ago were elvish.
Elvish?
You can't trust anyone anymore.
I think it's only fair that we warn you that, well, our caravan was attacked by a large force of orcs. How many endgames days ago was it? 1 or 2?
A couple days and you lost them in the dark forest.
A couple of days ago, so I mean, a caravan isn't hard to follow, but I don't know if they'll still follow us, but that there will be orcs in the area.
Well, allow me to be honest and forthright on 2 major facts then. First and foremost, ensure that you keep a weapon with you at all times here inside of my wonderful little town. As you will find, every single resident of Greenwood is now most assuredly armed and armored and ready to use what they have. And secondly, should they be foolish enough to come set forth on our steps with combat, we will most assuredly retaliate against them, but only if they should attack us. I will not have compassion if your people are struck down outside the gates of our city. I'm sure you must understand it is simply a matter of resource. However, if you're able to provide us some assistance, as you have mentioned, if you're able to help, perhaps we might be able to provide some rudimentary assistance and guard your caravan as well while you are here. But at the moment, our resources are stretched somewhat thin.
Understandable.
Now, beyond that, I will say, if you are interested in assisting with our milling issues, that house is on the western edge of town. You can't miss it. It's a windmill with a clock face on the back side of it.
Okay, yeah. I reckon we could head there after the as we speak to your healers. Is there anything else going on in the town that we could maybe help out with while we're here? Or if not, is there a place where I could buy a book on Elven history, maybe a language book? I feel a little bit like I should learn something.
Well, Devaxian, I am certain, beyond shadow of a doubt, we will be of good assistance to one another. However, we do have some books here. As he points towards the door to the north, that is the equivalent of what our town would call a library here. We keep older tomes and texts of information. In that area, you are more than welcome to examine them and read them to your heart's content, though I would ask that you leave them and do not try to take them with you. We have few books of knowledge and history, and fewer less who care to read them.
Okay.
This question might seem out of left field, but have you heard the rumors about certain individuals having magic again?
They pause and look towards you and they snort a laugh at that. Magic in this world. Are you jesting, my good friend? I have not seen a spark of magic on this world since I was a very little boy, and for many years I thought it little but my imagination, until my mother explained to me the difference. There is no magic left in this world. Whether it is moved away or has been hunted down by those of us without it, there is no magic left in this world, no matter what others might tell you.
Interesting. I'll just kind of look at Phoenix. And not really say anything else. You just make note of that mentally.
They're gonna keep a weapon on you. I like that little gift that pop up. They will nod towards Phoenix as they make the ad. Indeed, it is a major loss to both of our peoples. The amounts that your kind were able to craft, that our kind were able to enchant. We were a different empire some century ago, were we not? A shame for what this world has become.
So purely hypothetical. Purely. If somebody walked in your town with magic, what would you think about that? Demonstrated unequivocally at its back.
Then they're gonna pause and stare at your character intently as you're saying, if you want to give me...
I should have left it alone. I'm just so curious. I don't get this person.
If you want to go ahead, you can either give me a diplomacy or deception check as you're making that one. I'll let deception squeeze in.
And I roll it?
Yep.
It's not you rolling it?
No. I only do it for
you.
you.
Both plus zeros.
Yep. I always do, I do the secret rolls for knowledge, because that's a little fun to mess around with. But most other things, I'm going to try to avoid them. Unless I really want you to have a bad time.
Oh, I didn't mean to do deception. I was going to go more diplomacy. But I didn't want to seem hostile.
You see them squinting.
Trying to get a read on him.
Keeping a close eye on your character for that moment as you're saying, well, with someone like not saying, not pointing elbows or fingers, but if somebody walked in, just somebody, do you think, and they're squinting their eyes a bit as they're looking you over. You go ahead on that one as well. And give me another perception check.
Okay. Ooh.
Because I don't think they teach a natural 20. Whatever you're rolling, you just rolled a nat 20. Because, I don't think they really do an insight in this version, if I'm correct. I might be wrong on that with Pathfinder.
I think there's an insight.
Let me double check here.
A sense motive. It might be called sense motive.
Oh, yes. The old sense motive. Let me see here.
Fergus is begging for us to take a break. He's just been staring at me for the last 10 minutes.
I was spot on for that. The sense motive, it is perception, because that's what I was leaning on. And Ulog's like, I could use lie to me and make it go a little crazy and try to trip them up, but...
Sorry, I was muted. I was posting that because it kind of tells you what the normal thing is, too.
Mm-hmm. If you can engage in conversation with someone trying to lie to you, you can use deception and perception and mess around with that. Now...
Yeah, like that instead of the perception. That's what I was getting at, sorry.
They use perception
that's
for
the only
pretty much everything. Perception for reading someone's intent and knowledge check for deductions on it is how they balance it out. I just wanted to make sure, because I've done so much D&D and so much insight that I was like, it isn't in there anywhere, right? But yeah, perception, just like for your lie to me's pointing out. So as you're saying that and scanning it over, you can see for a brief moment they catch a vision on you a little more strict. And you've definitely gained their suspicion. Oh God, poor Fergus. I see that picture. He's just here like, please.
He's the worst. He's now standing a lot closer and doing the exact same thing. Dean knows what this is about. He does it every day when Dean's working.
No, look at the baby.
To answer that question for you, they'd give a bit of a nod as they'd set their quill down and they'd add, I would imagine somebody openly flaunting magic in a town like this would immediately become a pariah for their own cause. If they were allowed to enter, I wouldn't be surprised if we had riots on our street and people looking to take their head. As it
you can go on out.
Oh, I just say, as it appears, his view is negative on magic.
Yeah.
I mean, I could understand that point of view, maybe if it came from maybe a religious source, as the gods have left, but even the arcane, which is just through study, would still be looked upon negatively.
And they'd give a slight shake of their head as they look back, making a few notes on some different ledgers, balancing out financial stats as you hear them say quite firmly, you won't find anyone in this town that believes in the gods anymore, my friend. We don't think they've ever existed. Maybe some exceedingly powerful people who did some great miracle work throughout the day, but as far as we're concerned, there are no gods. And if there are, and he looks up to the sky and you can see anger on his face for a brief moment, and smite me where I stand, as I will never, ever bow my head to those who abandon us. And then looks back to their paperwork.
Yeah, I get it. Totally get that.
The anger and rage of people who seem to have given up on the gods entirely. Now, this wasn't the case in your previous town. There were believers, and there were people who'd follow the oath. And some people would look at them odd and all that because after having the gods be so prominently, directly active in the world for so many millennia, and then to just be immediately gone, well, cutting cold turkey tends to cause things to go south very quick.
I have to go take Fergus out.
Yep. So
look, I don't know why we're taking a break, but I'm
Yep.
gonna go now.
This is a good spot. We'll take a quick 15 here because you've got some info and some answers. Gives the team some time to think if they've got anything more to ask, or if they want to move on to the other spots in here and maybe do some science. But we'll take a quick 15-minute break because this is a perfect little spot to pause.
All right.
And we'll see y'all in 15.
Good. See ya.
So after taking a nice quick little break, you've got the mayor standing before you, who seems interested in what's going on with you all, has provided you some information and let you know some locations you're looking for. What's the team looking to do now?
Find the medic.
I figured that might be
head
top.
through the southern door, I believe.
Before we head out, Deacon does have one question for the mayor.
And you've
Do you have any books on clockwork machinations? I have a particular one that I'm looking to get more knowledge on. If you have anything of the sort, and I'm not looking to get this information for free. I would be willing to do more additional services or pay for it if necessary.
They give a nod of their head as they look up towards you, adding, I always appreciate a nice, enterprising... And you see they squint as if... You can see they're scanning you over once. Then they just say, fellow. So by all means, you can have free access to our library behind us. We do have some notations on machinations. Little bits here and there from older scribes, but we mostly deal with the woods at this point. But by all means, if there's anything in there that you can find, we can discuss purchase of a book. Probably wouldn't be too crazy of a thing to share, but by all means.
Well, I definitely appreciate your generosity, but I believe I will aid with this task first, as I do want to help out your village beforehand.
And he'd definitely be grateful. Any help to get the old mill up and running again will be assuredly helpful. Prosperity is something not very many places carry anymore, my friend.
I know that all too well. And then Deacon will nod his head and go with the group.
All right. And at the moment, as mentioned, there's the room to the south where the healers can be found, or, as the town refers to them, medics. And to the north, a small library, or at the very least, a collection of books. Meanwhile, Dean's like, can we please go to the medics first? Please, please, please. Probably John too, but you know. And that room to the south, as you walk up and casually open the door, has a number of beds laying about inside and small bits of supplies and features. Though there's not too many people presently inside of the area, you do see seated comfortably at a table enjoying a cup of tea, wearing white robes of a medical style, a female elf reading through a few pages in a notebook as you enter the room, though they don't pay you any heed.
Excuse me? I wonder if I could have a moment of your time.
And they splatter a bit of their teas. They look side on towards you, they give a squint, and you see a slow smile fall on their face and a nod. Oh, by all means, come on in, come on in. Well, tell me, what can I do for the lot of you? Got a little bit of gout? I've got a nice drink that'll be able to bring that one down. Maybe a couple cuts and bruises? Got some bandages lying about, bad shoulder, tennis elbow. Might not be able to help much with that one. Don't really play the sport, but you know, any assistance, as she gives a laugh and a smile at her less than skillful joke.
Well, it begins with a G, so Gout was a good one to lead with. So obviously we're not from town. My name's Devaxian. It's nice to meet you. My friend Ulag behind me there. We were attacked by ghouls and have contracted ghoul fever. So we were wondering if you had, well, maybe some way to remove that disease from us. Maybe.
It's at that moment, as you're walking forward, saying, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you. My name is Devaxian. You were pretty close with the G, huh?" She still has a bit of a smile on her face to begin with, laughing as you're making the jokes and comments. She's extending out a hand, in fact, until you mention, "Oh, the ghoul fever," and immediately comes back and she pulls a cloth up over her face from around, just going, "Oh, I see. Well, no, that's quite all right. Nice to meet you. My name, Adriel Galarina. Though, tell me now," as she immediately is pulling out the old doctor's mask from the side of her pouch, bringing it down and over her face as the black cone of leather that you've probably only seen a few times in your day usually doesn't carry a good sign. She takes a moment, stuffing some flowers and such in the front of it, as is tradition, to help with any issues, looking back towards you with a pair of large goggles, spinning them, adding, "Now, when did you begin to initially contract and have these issues? Are you yet long for this world?"
So we have some potions in our caravan that repress the disease, so we're not contagious. And I have no intention of biting you, so it's not airborne. It's just through biting and scratching, I think. So our caravan's fine. It's just us two. We did almost die, but the potions helped us get back to being just a carrier like now.
And she'd give a nod.
That's a cool mask, by the way. Do you have a spare one I could buy?
She takes the time, tucking her long, wavy black hair behind into the cowls of her clothing, as she'd give a shake of her head at that. "Oh, no, sorry, I do not have any spare of this, though you can buy them at the local shop. They shouldn't be too hard to get your hands on. We've only got a couple here, and I already have them set and sterilized. I'm sure you understand. But my manners. Very nice to meet you. My name, Adriel Galarina. However, sadly, the best I can offer you is assistance in planning."
Our demise.
And she'd give a nod towards that. "We do have some wonderful situations and features here. Since you have the time to plan and you've had some potion to help extend your life, you are very fortunate. You will be able to choose how you're either buried or, as I would like to suggest, cremated and have your ashes spread through the winds. Now, how long do you think you will... you feeling any ill effects today? Or do you think you still have about a couple days left before you expire, As she starts making notes, as it would appear that this person doesn't have much faith in your capacity to survive.
I think that we have about how high did the stages go last time?
You've got a
7?
couple days, but it gets out of hand very quickly. However, give me a perception check while talking with them. And John,
League mask.
You could make the check as well. Oh, you already did. Where your character is also looking for some healing.
No.
Now, she was very quick to immediately switch over to talking death rites, but you sense there might have been some apprehension, as if something else to be mentioned before she switched over to that. You get the feeling she might not be telling you everything.
I don't want to be confrontational here, but I feel like there's something that you don't want to tell us, but given that we're dying, what would be the harm in that?
Oh, no. Nothing of the sort like that, she says as she steps away, heading back over, pouring out 2 cups of tea, passing one towards yourself and another for Ulag. Any other party members would also be welcomed for some tea, but bedside manner, the doctor's taking care of the patients, as she seems outwardly kind. Shaking her head, though, she confirms, No, nothing of that sort, no, it's just many years ago. I would simply have reached out to the magical capacities at my disposal, and I would have been able to assist you with this, but sadly, those spells will no longer be able to assist. I am unable to cast Restoration to assist. And even then, even if I had the capacity, my spellbook, I've long since buried it, so there's not much I can do in that regard.
You have a spellbook?
Yeah, do you want us to go? Would it be okay if we looked over it and studied it? You know, just so we can think about all the things we could have done. If things were different, we mourn our friends. And I'll put a hand on Tabaxian's shoulder.
She'll give a nod at your compassion. No check required. As she acknowledges, Oh, yes, most assuredly. You have my condolences. I don't deal in false hope, so I've long since abandoned those ways. Magic isn't something that'll solve our problems anymore. We must find our solutions ourselves, whether they are concoctions to help fight off the disease, as I'm sure you've noted yourselves enjoying a drink. But, though I've long since buried those with our ancestors, should you so desire, you're more than welcome to go to our nearby burial mounds. I've kept it in the back of that area. That, my scrolls, my other equipments, but oof. Well, they've been in there now for 50, 60, 70 years? I'm not even sure if they'd be legible or still remnants.
Well, I mean, I feel like, you know, speaking for Ulag as well, that I think we'd like to give it a shot. Rather than just die. Scrolls, you say? Say that maybe the scrolls had degraded, but the book was still intact. Would you be able to make a new scroll of restoration?
Without magic, we cannot create such things, my friend, unfortunately. So the best I can do for you is wish you all the best. If you would like to spend your last days tracking down such foolish hopes and help, by all means, you have my full support. Your life is yours to do with it as you wish. But I dare not give you false promises from magics that have long since forsaken us.
Fair enough. So, I know it's rude to ask a lady her age, but you were alive when magic was free-flowing in the world?
If she wasn't wearing the mask, you'd see the smile on her face.
Oh, my friend, there are very few people in this town, if anyone, who's older than me.
She pauses, and you can see her head tilt off towards the side as she brings a hand up to rub underneath her chin.
No, actually, yes, I do believe I'm the oldest. I've seen almost 3 centuries, so yes, I do remember a world fraught with the magical capacities that have long since burned away.
Oh, if I may say so, you don't look a day over 200.
Oh, yes, I am functionally immortal. I got exceedingly lucky. I managed to drink from the fountain of youth when in my younger days, when I was only just breaking past a singular century, just 125 at that time. It would appear such magic still hold bind, as I still have the beautiful skin and youth that I am very happy to have. Sadly, this does mean I've seen a number of friends fade away. But it's been a long time since I've dealt now with people who are not elven. Not much of a worry I've had in 70, 80 years.
As you know, the nature of this world as it's beginning to crumble, people clinging to each other and holding to what they can have, So it's no surprise she probably hasn't dealt with anyone but elves since magic disappeared.
I mean, if we're in town for long enough, I'd love to hear some stories about the old elven ways and magic.
Oh, my friend. Some of the things I could tell you would be awe-inspiring. Creatures and machines flying through the sky like you've never seen. But with it, there comes great devastation and power. For the dragons that make up the stories of your bedtime routines, every single one of them as real as you could ever imagine. They existed and they tore our world asunder, bearing down on us and on the audacity of the people who believe they had the power to control such things. I've seen wars fought over little more than what we would call now a shiny bauble.
As she reaches underneath her table and grabs a rather peculiar-looking sphere, holding it up and adjusting her mask.
Why, this crystal, for example, was capable of such incredible destruction, but now, well, it makes a lovely paperweight.
As she puts it on top of her book.
Can I have a look at that?
Oh, most assuredly not. Not this one. This one is mine.
She picks it up and gives a nod.
I call it Bite Bite.
Sorry, what was that?
She calls it Bite Bite, but she says no, this one is mine. Holds it close, as you immediately get the sense that it is something important to her to a small degree. But it's beyond that. It would just appear to be a crystal ball at a glance.
Gotta be careful with those. They're real fire hazards.
Oh, jeez. With the light coming through. She'd give a snort and a laugh and agree. She said,
"Oh, yes, indeed. I found that out the hard way after its magical capacity was lost. The light shining in through the window magnified and blitzed and burned my home to the ground. But that was a considerably long time ago."
And she'd wave off the hand.
"I've lived enough lifetimes since then that I've been through 3 other homes. Do not even worry. It was unfortunate, though. My bath I had there was the most exquisite."
I'm so tempted to, cast Identify on it, but I don't. After what the mayor said, I'm hesitant.
Hold up hand, cast a spell. It goes like that episode of Futurama where they found the robots that were, or the humans pretending to be robots, and the one robot just screams. Go from nice NPC to bad in a half a second.
Yeah. So you used to like performing magic. Do you share the same feelings as the rest of the town now? The mayor indicated that magic, if it was to ever come back, would be treated quite harshly.
She pauses for a moment before releasing a sigh and giving a shake of her head at that.
"Unfortunately, there is good reason for that. It's not due to the fact that people mistrust magic, but what became of magic from people's distrust. Because,"
and she's at this point now standing at the opposite side of the table, she actually takes a moment to take the mask off, setting it down, having completed most of her examinations. "The first magics we lost were magics that I used. Magics brought about by prayer and strength to heal and help those who needed it. There wasn't much that we could do when the rest of the world brought down fire and brimstone with the destructive powers of magic that left. But even so, those embers soon faded, leaving behind a scar and a memory of hatred for those who would wield its destructive powers. It's not the people, you see, that we do not trust. It is magic that we do not trust."
Okay. Interesting.
So unfortunately, she does not have healing magic that can help you. Your disease very hard pushed, but she has indicated that her old spells and maybe even a scroll or two that might be able to help, if there's any magic left to be had, which is itself as well possibly a far stretch, exists in the mausoleum of her people.
Just to double check that, obviously there's some mistrust around outsiders here. If we were to go to the mausoleum, that wouldn't upset anyone, would it?
No,
we need to get permission.
Most assuredly not. And please, you must forgive many of the other people who live here. What you see is not hatred in their eyes, my friend. It is fear. This is a hard world we live in, and our town, positioned such in a lovely place, is often beset by those who would see it overtaken for their own evil gains. But our mausoleum, well, it's right in the middle of town. You'll find we've dug down. It used to be a mining facility, but there was nothing to be found there of value. We were shooting for gold, and we found coal, which at the time wasn't very valuable. We've since converted it to a mausoleum for our dead, and you are more than welcome to visit. I mean, and she gives a smile and looks back on with a coy grin at the twisting up. They're dead. What difference are they going to matter if you go there? But
that would be crazy, yeah.
The smallest decorum of respect, though, would be requested. I mean, if you're just going to a graveyard, no one's going to mind.
And you said that your spellbook and scrolls was at the back.
Yes. You'll notice in the northeastern corner, there's a nice area there. One of the last forms of what I think is magic to be found. A single purple light burns in the back corner of that room, like nothing I've ever seen. Even with all my magical capacity, never have I ever seen something built quite like that. If you can find some comfort in those readings, my friend, and you cannot overcome this disease that is taking you, then by all means, you may have those books, those scrolls. May they bring you some comfort for both of you in these final days. And if I can be of any assistance in your last rites and in setting for you for the grave, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I will be more than happy to assist anyone in their final hours. It is the least I can do.
Well, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. I probably would want to be burned, I think. So, guess everyone here can arrange that when I die.
And she's making, Davaxian. Cremation. Do not worry. I will most assuredly confirm that you have passed from this world for at least a 10-day before we proceed with that. Oh, sorry, I should say for a week. 10 days, that's the other world. Hard to shake some habits.
Yeah. What? That's good. If there is enough gold on me and you don't have another use for it, could you possibly burn me in a small boat? I've always wanted to be burned on a boat when I die. Preferably a ship, but I'm realistic about the amount of money I have.
Many years ago, the giants would have me do similar for them. I most assuredly can assist you with such a thing. It would not be such a problem, as she smiles. You're not the size of a giant, so it should be easier to find a vessel. And then she frowns again. My apologies. I often cut a little comedy into these moments to provide some assistance, but you will have my utmost respect in the handling of your passing, my friend.
When I go, it's just a body. Doesn't matter.
And she nods back towards you as you mention that and say, I will assure then that you will be entombed with ours in the mausoleum here, so that you may find rest.
He will nod his appreciation.
Well, Miss Gallerina, it was lovely to meet you. But we have a windmill to fix and then an old book to find. So,
oh, if you can assist with the windmill, that would be so very wonderful. The bread, it's just... you can't get the same consistency in the dough. When we're pounding the flour by hand and trying to break down on it, it would be wonderful to have it spinning once more.
Well, I guess we best hurry up and fix it then before us two end up toast.
She snorts a laugh at the bad pun. Smiles and nods and says, "Oh, I like you all. You seem to be a great royal good fellow. You know what? I will hope for your survival, my friend. You may yet beat this. You all seem quite healthy. You have the hope of your friends on your side. Perhaps the both of you may yet survive what is to come."
Fingers crossed. I do feel a little bit stronger than I was previously, so maybe that +1 will make the difference.
As the levels go up, this becomes less of a challenge to shrug off. But at the moment, the team's in a rough and a tough place, so...
Yeah. Did we get that disease at level 1 or level 2?
Oh, that was level 2.
Because level 2, right. So I do have a +1. So I think there was a couple of times with the fortitude save, I was like 1 or 2 off.
You were
Sorry to interrupt. I gotta get going. You guys have a good one.
Yep, you have a good one, John.
Alright, John.
Hey, John.
Have fun.
I was figuring he was already 15 minutes over on time, so I figured he'd pop at any second, but... At least they'd give you the edges of where you might find some degree of something that might help, but whether or not... And there's also the windmill to deal with, which might be a long investment of time. Days. Because, you know, repairing anything big and mechanical, right?
Days. Maybe we should go to the mausoleum first.
Yeah.
I need a recipe hunt, guys, because I just found a recipe called vaccine. I can cure your disease if I can make it.
Ooh.
But what's your magical crafting or regular crafting?
It's an alchemy item, but I also have alchemy crafting and magical crafting, so...
Oh, so yeah, cool. So you need to find the recipe first.
Yeah, that's the catch.
Yeah.
To make anything,
What?
I need to find the formula.
And if I'm correct on the vaccine, it'll grant you immunity, doesn't it? But if they're already inflicted, it gives a +2 bonus at base, I think, to the save. I might be wrong on that because...
A vaccine grants a creature immunity to a specific strain of disease of a level equal to or less than the vaccine's level.
Yep, and a +2 item bonus.
Bonus on all saving throws against other strains of the same disease.
Ah, there we go. So that should... That was the thing I was thinking of. Thanks for that.
So we would get... So it would cure, like, what's the bat creature that is scaling?
It makes you immune to their disease. I don't know.
I'm just thinking, like, how...
anything else that causes that disease, you would have a +2 too.
Alright, I see. Yeah. I guess I was trying to think, like, lore-wise, like, how the +2 works. Like, you're immune to, like, specific creature, ghoul fever, and then it helps you with the other ones, but... we could worry about how the mechanics work with the story once we find the recipe, because that would be handy.
I'm gonna have to look it up because when I'm checking, they're saying they're not clear. Conventional wisdom suggests a vaccine would only prevent further sickness, as vaccines and cures are two totally different things in the real world. I'll have to... I mean, I doubt your character can get it done in a couple minutes, so I will find out for next week if vaccine would work, because there's also the anti-plague item that can be brewed to fortify against disease, and you get a item bonus to fort saves against diseases. So they do have that in there, but I'm going to check. Immunity to disease on a specific one, though, seems to imply that it would cure it. Dan gave me a headache.
I usually do.
That's a good one. I'm gonna double check on it to ensure. But I mean, how much would it cost you to make one of those, and how much time?
Well, 4 days to craft anything.
Yep.
And that 4-day crafting time is on top of finding the recipe itself.
Yeah, 4 days from when I start craft.
Yep. The other note on that too is, if it does provide immunity to a strain of disease, the usual rule is if you're immune to an effect and the effect's already hitting you, then those effects cease, right? I'm leaning towards the vaccine also curing it because of the wording, but that's going to be a read.
It costs 12 gold for a vaccine.
Hey, that's not too bad.
That's the lesser, so it only lasts for an hour.
Yep. If you want it to be able to be perfectly cured, permanent duration, that's 5,000 gold. Wow. You get 1 year and 1 week as well for 450. A 1 week vaccine. You know what? That's a good way to run it. Because you need at least 4 days, right?
The vaccine minor is only 4 gold.
Yep, because it's only 1 hour. That might give you a bonus on a save or something. Oh god, this is even bigger headache now. I'm leaning in to say that you might have to make a moderate vaccine that's 50 gold. I think you can still make those though, right? Like, that's not going to restrict you.
I have to get the recipe first. So the question is, within the caravan and this city, can I find the formula for this?
Is there a medical textbook? Isn't it wild just how many ways you can approach a problem in this game system?
Yep. She will acknowledge, as your character is making these musings, like, if I could find some information, if I could find books with vaccinations and information, she'd pop up. Oh, yes, I had some of those listed as well, but they're a little bit beyond the norm. You might find some notations in my books for vaccinations and healings and all that, but without magic at your disposal, again, my friend, that's not going to be very lucky for you overall. I rolled a D100 plus a D20. If I got 50 or better, I'd say her book has a number of different alchemical recipes in there, including vaccination. So, there you go.
Okay, we know where I'm going.
Yeah. Ben's character is like, I will get this book and I will become better. Much, much better. And the Dungeon Master is like, of course I can do magic.
Plus, at some point, I go pick up the common crafting book. There's a 2 silver point common crafting book. Gives you the recipe for all basic gear.
By all means, they have this in this town. They have people who are capable of crafting. Because, I mean, it's the elves. If they can't craft, go find some dwarves and hope for the best. That's traditionally how it works in stories, right? But they definitely have some crafting and some skills. They do a lot of leatherworking and woodworking in this town. A little bit of scrimshander work too, but not a lot. Just some artistic folk. So you can definitely buy that and have no trouble stopping by the shop. I'm actually going to put aside, as your character's like, I'm going to have to go to the shop and get some of that. You'd get a flash sideways for a moment, and you'd have Phoenix there with an elbow on the table, with holding his head in his hand for a brief moment, looking a little possibly frustrated, bored, or all of the above. As Garrett is taking his time, going through a massive list.
And we're also going to need 27 kilo of rice and another 13 kilo of barley.
And the person behind the counter is like, yeah, we can get that. That's going to cut, You're stuck with dealing with them, dealing with that. But you can definitely add that to your character sheet. I was just adding a little flair.
Nice.
Garrett's going to be going through like there's no tomorrow on making an order, and that's going to take him most of the day and most of the next day for putting it into the caravan, getting things reloaded, and getting food for his people. And Jameson, I'm going to lean on that one for a second just to jump back on that book you're looking for your character. If you have any specific ideas or styles or design, by all means, you can send me a DM and we can do some chatting as well. If you're looking to get a little something extra with what you're doing there. If you're looking from a role-play standpoint, some extra information about that, they would have maybe something there for you, but that's going to be some roll checks as you search through a library.
I'd probably feel this is something specific he's looking for, because he's looking for information on the thing that is keeping his heart going. So I would definitely feel like this is something I need to roll for.
You're looking for the information of how was I built and where did it come from and where it's going, right?
Oh, no. Like, the clockwork that's making my heart keep going. It was a mysterious object that was kind of placed in me, to keep me going, because I was born early. There were many problems. So I'm trying to figure out how it's keeping my heart working and how long I have to live.
All right. And did you want me to run that entirely myself for the lore, where it comes from and who made it and why? Or do you have ideas?
It's all. Feel free to take the reins on this. I think I sent you my backstory a little while back. If you want to peruse through that.
Because I had mentioned some connections that your character would have knowledge of because of that backstory. Because I remember giving that one a read over. I just want to make sure before we jump on that one. So, while they're checking out medicine and stuff, or maybe while they're finishing up, we'd be focusing in on your character at the library for a brief moment here on this one. We're going to take a swap over as you're giving a read through the books, as you are looking and checking through. You can either give me a perception check while you go through those, or if you've got a knowledge skill like lore or something of the sort like that that's trained.
What about society?
You can make a shot with a society roll on that to recall knowledge as you go through. It's a bit of a stretch because that seems to be the one they use for making money and doing things. But if you know people, you know what they're like, you're going through, it's like, oh, wonderful, they use the Dewey Decimal System. Haha, this will make it easy to find my books. So, by all means, I'll let that be a roll.
That's a fair point. I think I'll stick with perception, and if it's, I'm okay with perception.
All right, by all means. So a 12 on the perception check. As your character's flipping through books, looking through them, you pull out one book and you're like, damn it, they didn't use the Dewey Decimal System. Then you realize, no, they did. They just don't have an actual librarian to help make this stay organized. And your character then realizes, you gotta go spine by spine? Are you kidding me? This one's not even in Common, this is in Elvish, this one's in Sylvan. I don't even know this language. You know what I mean? That's the situation you've got. While you hear them discussing.
Can I spend my hero point to reroll that?
You can, if you really want, but you don't necessarily have a fail. This just affects the amount of time it takes, essentially. Because you've passed well enough that as the other party members would be walking away from the medics area, like, yep, so we're going to have to go to the mausoleum and find these magical books. As you're hearing that, your character's fingers would drift over the spine of one that would catch your attention. On Machinations and Clockwork Construction, what catches your attention are the authors. You note, reading through, that it's written by gnomes with footnotes on it from dwarves and extra penmanship by elves. Multiple races worked on this book, and just a glance at the first few pages, it's heavy and it's advanced.
Can Nestri be reading over your shoulder with that one if she's gonna be rolling checks on how to fix this?
She's more than welcome to read along.
She's definitely awkwardly hovering over your shoulder.
You might have that moment of, oh, that's a really interesting looking book. As you're flipping through the pages, the construction is much more refined, complicated, and designed. And as you were flipping through, if only I had that old picture handy. As you're flipping through, you find a place that refers to some notations to a mythical and powerful city called Blackrock, which had a number of different people, and this book was written in said city. And it's when you flip near the end of the book that you look down and you can see, drawn to perfect schematical design, which doesn't help you too much. You know how the parts fit together, you don't know how they work, is a drawing of said device. How it works, though, as your character might be flipping over to the next page with excitement, The pages are all but destroyed, torn free, leaving nothing in the book but tattered pieces. But, flipping back to that same page, flip into those same machinations, you see notation and a very simple signature signed at the bottom of the torn page, indicating the first 3 letters of the person who was responsible for the design. You wouldn't know beyond that where it came from, what it did. But it has connections to the city of Blackrock, the same mythic kingdom you find yourselves traveling towards.
Alright, go on then. Tell us what the initials are. Yep, of course.
Oh yeah, that's been in the chat. I threw that up right when I was saying it.
I look over saw that. No, oh, yeah. Okay, Dusty.
He's like a bad ex. Like, you can't get away from him.
Admittedly, this was his world that he fought so hard to save.
Yep.
Assuming that's who it is. I mean, odds are it could be something silly like Striker the Fighter. That would be a long con if there ever was one, but...
Or Strange, as in Doctor Strange, Stephen Strange.
Oh god. Strange was here. This is impressive, but there seems to be some links to the machinations of what makes that device tick and how it works. The pages that would explain how to operate it, how it functions, because you see numerous little dials, knobs, switches, turns, wheels, gears, springs, and mechanisms loaded together to keep it ticking. And you can see how they all start to line in and connect to each other, but it doesn't give you too much more than what you already know. But the people responsible for the creation of such an incredible device, more than a century ago, hailed from Blackrock.
Deacon's going to nod, and he's going to turn over to the mayor, or if there's a librarian around, whoever's run this. How much for this book, please?
The mayor's given his jaw rub as he's looking over, sees it, because no librarian, no one to be sorted. There's only like 2 people in this area. One of them being a kid who looks up and just goes shh as they look back down at this incredibly thick book. And you're thinking, what are they reading? And it says encyclopedia on the side, and you're just thinking, wow, that poor kid. Get them something better to read. But they seem to be enjoying it. Go figure. The mayor, however, will look at the book, squint their eyes, and look back towards you and say, you know what? I'll tell you what. You seem a nice group of people, and if you are truly going to help us, then you can take that book. The machinations on clockwork that it gives might be of some assistance to you, I can see, as you're looking to assist us, and I appreciate that. As your true meanings for wanting the book fly right over the mayor's head, obviously. They acknowledge, if you're able to repair our windmill, you can have that book.
Words cannot express how thankful I am for this offer of gratitude, as it will be helpful for the windmill, but it has very personal aid as well. So, thank you very much.
You get a really weird glance from the mayor, because as you know, most people don't know what you are.
That's our book, Deacon. We're gonna share it.
And the mayor would give a bit of a shrug. They say normally gnomes or dwarves or someone might be more interested in what's in there, but you know what? I am not one to question where your ancestry comes from, but I have some respect for that, so by all means, you fix that windmill and it's yours. Consider it my thanks for helping us.
Then, by whatever means necessary, I will assure that it's fixed. And I go over to Nestri and say, "You're fine. You can read some of it."
Now, as your character's thinking over what they've read and what they've seen, One thing I'm going to pull is give me a lore check for recalling knowledge as you start to piece all of it together.
Where
Is it just for Deacon, or can I roll it as well?
Nope, specifically just for Deacon.
Okay, cool.
Where would I find lore specifically in my character sheet?
Now's that one. I think it's under your
Oh.
proficiencies, or at least should be in there somewhere. Because you got your lore skills. Oh, right, you don't have base lore. I don't know if you have a specific lore check for years that you have trained. So, you want to just go ahead and give me an intelligence roll. Actually, make it a crafting check. That's perfect.
Oh, no!
Oh,
All right, I'm
Is that
using
right,
my hero point to re-roll that.
You give that one a roll to re-roll that check, because that is a fail. 14. The light bulb
Technically
goes
better.
off. Hey, that's a pass. That's a pass. That's much better. After you pass the book back and you're thinking over, okay, I got to get myself to Blackrock and find out further about this. The light bulb goes off in your character's head as you realize a couple components on that piece. You're like, that's really handy. If that other piece ever broke on the side, I could swap that out and it actually wouldn't cause any issue. And then you realize that little bit of manual doesn't just explain what it was for, but has the basics of how to repair it. But only the basics. A few pieces here or there, if something should go wrong, you could replace. It's kind of like seeing half the manual of a car, and you're like, okay, I know how to swap out the alternator now. That's kind of the boat you're in, as this book not only explains what it is, it also explains how to build one. If anything, as far as machines are considered, this is a book of life. This is like the opposite of a Necronomicon. This is what you can use to make a living machine, or at least the heart of a living machine.
He'll just let out as that realization just dawns on him.
At least it's the basics. You could create the heart of Frankenstein, as one would say. Or Frankenstein's monster, for that point. As I'm sure someone's probably saying, Frankenstein is not the monster, he's the doctor. And it's like, no, Frankenstein was the monster. Frankenstein's monster was not a monster. That's the point, right?
Yeah, there's a tweet going about the internet. Someone screenshotted saying, "Oh, kids these days now they're saying that Frankenstein was the monster and not his creation," and it's just people underneath going, "That was the point."
Yep.
Of the book.
Now this is a little different because you're not Frankenstein and you're not a monster. Well, you are a monster in combat, but that's a good thing. But you've obtained the pieces that point you in the direction of a civilization that apparently had mastery over what you're looking for. And we can branch out on that as things go. After all, that's where you're headed. Almost like the very hands of destiny are helping push your character forward.
Whatever keeps me alive, Deacon thinks to himself.
Yup. It's not like there's very many places that can help for your type of loss. But of course, as we see, everyone's kind of in that boat, with magic roughly removed from the table for most people. So we're getting there a bit on time today. So, a couple points then that I will give the party. Now, this is for consideration for next week. First and foremost, your characters can easily find comfortable lodging here. People are willing to take you in. As mentioned, the attitudes of the guards are rough, tough, and grumble because they've had nothing but backstabbing even from their own people, as people want what they don't have, want what they can't have, and need to survive. But that isn't to say they're not going to accept people who've been let into their town. You won't find people charging you extra. You won't find people not refusing you a room when they're all empty. Quite the opposite. There's a tavern. They'll put you up for the night. No trouble. You'll definitely can buy some gear at regular cost. Getting a discount, however, I think that might be next to impossible at the moment. And that windmill that I may have mentioned, I'll touch on that for a moment, because I'm certain before going into a mausoleum, there might be the, okay, let me just see what we're dealing with here. I'm gonna go turn it on and see if they've got windows installed on this thing. They come to it and it's just pure brick, no windows, and it's like, damn, just doors then. That's the worst pun I could have made. The windmill is damaged, and you can imagine that you're going to be rolling some knowledge checks and some crafting checks to do the actual repairs. One side for the abstract concepts, one side for the physical construct. So, might be a team effort for a couple of you. After all, we've got a couple of you with crafting. I just flexed on that a little bit for Deacons. Because if you've got it, run with it. But you'll have to figure out how to fix it first, and since you found the Clockwork Book, you will have a situational bonus of +4 on knowledge checks.
Excellent.
And this clock tower, I will add, is ingenious in its singular design. Most of its machinations for the clock are still functional. They're beautifully done, and they use heavy spinning gears in order to continually pull up on ropes, 2 separate ropes with heavy pulley systems. Essentially, as the windmill spins, it winds one up, and once it hits maximum, the windmill automatically switches over to the other, and the first one slowly begins to descend, thus returning the energy, which, after going through gears, twists, spins, and dials, isn't too different from a pendulum clock. You wind by pulling down on the pendulum. The windmill continually winding either side. The only downside is the machine is broken. The clock is not turning. The time stuck eternally at 11:59. And because of that, the mighty milling stone will not spin at the bottom of this windmill, which means the grain cannot be pounded down. But with some work, you could work on it, but I'm going to lean on Deacon for that high up, plus that high up crafting that you get. Your character would just take one look at it, and if you're the sort who'd look at something that's nightmare grade hard and give a whistle, this would be a whistle moment. Like, oh, this is going to take a couple days, maybe a week, if all goes well.
Ooh boy.
But it's not impossible, with yourself and the skills of the others on the team, especially with Nestri and her knowledge of clockwork machinations as well. To add in on that, well, the team might have themselves a good time fixing it. But the mausoleum, that's a cave, and I'm going to swap us back over to the main map of Greenwood. Just so I can point at the map, because clearly you're all up here in this beautiful building at the moment. Oh, come on, pings, don't fail me now. Ping the map. There we go. Their mausoleum lies down here for its main entrance that leads underground, where the team's banking on old magical scrolls and books to give them knowledge, skills, abilities, and hopefully the means to heal each other. I will say, even though I like the struggle in some games, I'm not the sort of dungeon master who likes to give you a disease and say, you're stuck with that for 10 levels until you can shrug it off yourself. No. I give you a quest. I expect it to actually be a true quest, so.
You ping where it is again, it's just I was way too far zoomed out in the map. Oh, okay, right.
I'll do a shift ping
you.
So you all get my vision.
Right, cool.
What was once a mining... Oh, sorry?
I was just asking for clarification. Is this the mill or the clock tower or the mausoleum? Okay, that was going to be the next part of the question, but thank you.
Clock tower itself right in the middle on its own small peninsula, which rises up, bringing it above most of the hills in this town, exposing it to very, very, very regular winds. an ingenious place to put it in a very effective area, which would have allowed it to be quite the device for commerce in this town. But the last thing I'll point out, because, well, as you're marching down the street this way, the team would have been heading this direction, then probably said, you know what, let's check this out, and then just backtrack their way to go to here, or any number of places. You would hear people murmuring and talking, walking by, as you're looking up towards these machinations. You're checking things out, as you look like contractors who've come to do some repair work. You just don't have the hit-me vest or the yellow hard hat on your head. One thing that stands out, that even though these people definitely stare at outsiders, definitely have concern and fear, you hear the most unlikely and impressive of things, hope, in their voice, as some person says, walking by, "My God, might they be able to fix that? That'd be so good. My hands, they hurt so bad every day after I have to do the mill. It's just, you know."
God, we're gonna let them down so hard.
Oh, indeed, Jillian. The team has brought upon themselves the single most dangerous thing they could to a town in a world like this. You're holding hope in your hands.
Oh, boy.
Don't drop it.
Did I ever tell you guys about the time that I had the egg sitting project in grade 4, and I had a little egg called Agatha,
Oh, gosh.
and she was in this little basket, and I had like face cloths and stuff wrapped around her, and I was so determined that I was going to make it to the end of the week with Agatha. I was so sure, and I was getting ready to go to my religion class that I had to go to on Wednesday nights, and somebody, I think probably me, but there was a jacket or something that had been draped over Agatha where she sat on the bench in my porch. I had ceramic flooring, and I went to go take the jacket off and pulled Agatha out of the basket.
Oh.
She smashed on the floor. And I cried and cried and cried because I was so upset that I had failed the project. And then, because maybe it made us go to church back then, and you know how in church, well, in Catholic churches, they do, like, memorials,
Oh, no.
where you said your prayer to the Lord, and there was a woman called Agatha that had died.
Oh, no.
Me and my mom started laughing hysterically in church.
Oh, God. And I mean, the worst case, you defend the family, you go and say, "My condolences," you tell them what happened, they probably laugh. But, oh,
yeah,
God.
well, I think we stifled the giggles enough that it wasn't that noticeable in our gigantic cathedral, but I'll never forget that. I think my teacher passed me just on pure pity because I was genuinely devastated that I broke my egg.
So you learned the most important lesson from the lesson by the sounds of things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you probably learn more if it gets broken than if it doesn't.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, well, look at what you do now for a living.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I think I'm going to do that to these people's hopes.
I don't think you've cracked any eggs in your present
job. I just smashed them on the ceramic floor.
We'll get to see how that one goes. That's your long mission while you're in this town. Things to be done to help them out as best you can. Which, you know, one thing I like about this is you have downtime. You have periods where you can do things. And it's going to take you probably a week, if you're successful in repairing it, to repair it. So the rest of the team, keep that in mind for your downtime activities, like building magical items. Or building items in general, as Phoenix has no trouble picking up basic books for building. And before we cut, one thing I'm going to do, because I'm betting, all of this aside, if John was here, he'd be saying, "That's great, can we go to the mausoleum, please? I do not want to die." And Dean's probably thinking the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and give you all a quick little preview of next week. I have popped you all here inside of the Ancestors' Mausoleum. Now, mind you, the approach, going there and maybe having some few NPCs to talk to will be something, but if you want to see what you're in for, this place is well-kept stonework cut into a mountainside, with number of torches that are always kept lit and burning. You've all been advised, and I'm going to zoom out on the map here So you're probably not going to see me pinging the top right corner over and over and over. But you've been told that's where books that might have salvation for your characters lie. But the last time you went through somewhere with a bunch of coffins and a bunch of dead bodies, well...
What, spicy?
Indeed. So the players will have some fun stuff to deal with. For next week's session, you've all got a few pieces of extra stuff. I'm more than happy to give out some knowledge and info for Dan's character as well, because you get them books. And if you get anything else you're leaning on, Dan, for crafting and all that stuff, just like anything else, send me a message. I'll see what I can shove in as we go. Because one thing I like about Pathfinder, unlike 5e, where it's like, oh, you're going to give the players the thing? You better not. They'll become too strong and can't beat the enemies, and you'll have to put the CR through the roof. In Pathfinder, it's like, you didn't give the players the thing? Why not? They're going to die.
Yep.
The balance is there, so you can all do those things. It was always a hard time in 5e. It's like, okay, I can give you this. Then I had to pump the challenge up harder, and I'm like, they're going to have trouble with this. And you cakewalk it? And I'm like, okay, now I'm mad. I'm going to try and kill them next week and see how it works. And you cakewalk it a second time. And I had to reevaluate my life. That was one of those times, that for that one I'm referencing, that Dean is like, I'm summoning 10 snakes, and I'm like, that'll actually nerf this challenge. Oh my. So many times. Just out of... Well, I think it might have been flying thingies, to be honest, but you know.
Oh, flying snakes.
Oh,
you're right.
We do not ask why God made a snake. We are thankful that they did not put wings on its back. That's what I learned in Roman Catholic school.
Hey, at least it's not flying spiders.
Oh, my word. Could you imagine? It better be friendly. Get Lucas the spider just flies and lands beside the team. Hello! And the vaccine just lays into it with everything he's got.
I gotta duck out, guys, but it was fun playing, and I will talk to y'all next week.
Yep.
I'll talk to Dean in like 5 minutes, but I'll talk to everyone else later.
Yeah.
Bye!
Have a good one. And that's a
Have a
good
good
spot.
one.
So I'll go ahead and I'll cut the recording here.